What's going on, producers? Today we're going to try a new format. Let me know how you like it in the comments. 2-minute tips. And today we're going to cover basic EQing. We're not talking about mid-side. We're not talking about analog, super overpriced EQs or dynamic EQs or anything fancy. We're taking it down to the basics. But hold up. I know you know how to EQ, or you think you know how to EQ. I promise you're going to learn something, so stay tight. It's only 2 minutes. At least I hope. Let's listen to these guitars. Of course, we see some resonance thanks to the analyzer. We're going to use the Seek and Destroy tip, which is my favorite and the first tip I ever learned. We'll tighten up the Q. Remember, EQ is basically just like a volume knob for specific frequencies, and this will help us hone in on what we want to change. When you do this, turn your monitors way down because you're going to taint your ears. If you blast resonance in your ears, you're always going to miss that resonance because your ears are just going to ring like that. Boom, found the nasty frequency. We could tighten up the Q a little bit to make sure we don't affect other frequencies around it as much. And boom, we can correct for it right there. Awesome, right? Now we can use the high cut and the low cut to get rid of stuff that we don't need, which is basically a delete button. It doesn't really delete them, but it lowers them enough to where they're basically deleted. I usually bring that up the first thing I do when I start a new mix channel. When I start a new track, I always delete that low end out because it's unnecessary stuff. Take a listen to it. Right, you can barely hear it compared to the guitars, right? You don't need that in your mix, and it also clogs up your mix and makes your bass and kick drum and low end stand out less because, you know, there's like a noise floor down there that you don't need. All right, let's move on to these Waka Flocka vocals. And now we're going to talk about shelving, right? Let's break EQ down to two simple things, right? Deleting frequencies or removing frequencies that are unwanted, right, which we just covered, and then also shaping your sound to place it in a mix. This is where things get really cool. Everybody uses the bells to boost. Everybody uses the bells to cut. But if you could break down EQ to really simply and just think, do I want to dull something or brighten it? Use this high shelf.
All these girls want is cash, so I can't trust a bitch.
Do I want to dull it?
All these girls want is...
And you could tune the curve here like usual. Or do I want to thin something or thicken it? And that's the bottom end.
All these girls want is cash, so I can't trust a bitch.
That's it. That tip alone right there made my mixes a million times better. Once I started using the shelf all the time, I just like tripled down on quality in terms of being able to place things the way I wanted to place them. It was so many times that I want to thin something and I was using a low cut and deleting stuff that I really needed to be there, but only a little bit. And I think that was a huge tip for me. Last but not least, here's a pro tip, and this is something that saves me a lot of time. In Ableton, you can right click on something and do save as default preset. I set all my curves to be like this. A low cut, because I use that quite often. A low shelf, because I use that quite often. 4 bells, and then another shelf, and then a high cut as well. Set it up like that, and then I basically do save as default preset. This time, every single time I open something up, every single time I mix, the first thing I do is delete unwanted stuff,
All
right?
these girls want is cash.
I'm only 2 clicks away, which saves me a lot of time. I've been producing for a really long time, and I find that every single time I do something, I started to realize that I'm taking up time that I don't really want to take up doing, which is something like that. And it's really important to me that I, try to make it as fast as possible. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe and follow, whatever floats your boat, and let me know if you learned something from this today. Thank you guys. Peace.